Moving along here, let's go to our next process in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. It's called Direct and Manage Project Work. And the mission is to execute the work in the project management plan. In order to work this process, you do need your project management plan. That's the main mission. Execute the work, get it done. And this process is the first process in the executing process group, but it's the third process in the project integration management knowledge area. It's a very important one because it's from this process that we actually derive deliverables as an output. And of course, you know that the main reason you're working the project is to get an output, to get those deliverables. Okay, so the first input to this is the project management plan. For obvious reasons, we are carrying out what is in the plan within this process. This is the process in which the project manager is driving the work according to the plan. The next input here is called project document. Now, project document is a catch-all, for lots of documents. And let me call out a few of these project documents that could be looked at as inputs here. So we've got the change log. We also have lessons learned register. We don't want to make the same mistakes twice. So any lessons learned that are relevant, we want them here. Milestone list. Milestones tell us when work has to be done and when work should start. Project communications. We've got various project communications that could be looked at here. The project schedule, requirements traceability matrix, risk register, and any form of risk reports. All of these are used to drive work in the project management plan. We have approved change requests. So remember, I talked about the change log just now. Well, the actual approved change requests that come from the perform integrated change control process where we review change requests, the approved change request is an input here. So we've got some really important change related information coming into this process. The next input, we already know enterprise environmental factors, and the second one after it, organizational process assets. We already know what those are. EEFs, factors that could influence the carrying out of work. We need to take note of those. And OPAs, organizational process assets, any processes and procedures, the corporate knowledge base, items that are relevant to this process should be identified. Let's talk about the tools and techniques, expert judgment, expertise that relates to this area of executing the work. Project management information system, and this refers to any system used to store project management information relating to the project. We could have all manner of systems here. And lastly, in this list of tools and techniques, we have meetings. The outputs, very important one, deliverables. What is a deliverable? A product, a service, or result. This is what you are getting from this process. We have work performance data. This is going to be a recurring theme throughout the PMBOK guide. When you hear work performance data, I want you to be thinking about high-level data that is gleaned, or you could think about this as raw observations on the project. And these raw observations could be certain measurements which on their own don't really make as much sense as when you have actually analyzed them. These are raw observations or raw data, raw measurements. When you say what they are, you need to go a little bit further to really analyze them. I'll give you a very rough and quick example. Let's use a raw observation such as Phil, a resource on this project, has gone on vacation, or Phil, a resource on this project, is suddenly not available and he will not be available for the next 5 days. That's a raw observation. But what about that? What is the relevance of you telling me Phil will not be available? Not until you have taken that information and analyzed it and said, oh my goodness, we've got so many milestones that are contingent on this resource. We have so many to-do items, and because Phil is not available, this and this and this will happen. We're going to be behind schedule by 10 days. We're going to have additional risks. We may even have to look at hiring an additional resource in Phil's absence that can actually do his work. So it's going to increase cost and so on and so forth. When you have now analyzed the relevance of Phil's not being available, we then call that work performance information. So work performance data that you see on the screen here is good. It's okay. The measurements that we glean are fine. But if we have not weighed what the implications are, it's just data. We need to go to the next level, information. So this work performance data that you see here is going to become an input to lots of processes, especially those in the monitoring and controlling process group. And in the monitoring and controlling process group, when we've got work performance data going in, within those processes that fall in the monitoring and controlling process group, we analyze the work performance data to get work performance information out. But this is the beginning, okay? So I'm just trying to get you immersed into the whole concept of work performance data, raw observations, raw measurements. Another example could be, we're done with 50 widgets. Okay, that sounds good. But I don't know how many widgets you've got in total, and I don't know how many you've got left. Until you tell me how many you've got left, it's just data. All right, the next output of this is issue log. If there are any issues on the project, issues such as people not being in alignment or things that need to be discussed and realigned, we call those issues, and those need to be documented in the issue log. As a result of this process, we could have change requests. Of course, these change requests need to be passed through the right process. These will go onto the change control board for approval or rejection or review, whatever you want to look at it as. And we also have from this process project management plan updates, which means as we go through this process, it's possible that the project management plan may need to be updated. It's also possible that project documents, such as the ones I went through with you, those may need to be updated as well. And we also could have organizational process assets updates. Now, organizational process assets updates are updates to OPAs, updates to organizational process assets. Which particular OPAs are we talking about? It could vary, but I would like you to specifically think about lessons learned that you glean, because as you glean lessons learned from different processes, they are going to be used as organizational process assets updates. You're going to update processes and procedures as needed. You're also going to update the corporate knowledge base as needed. You're also going to update any, let's say, project document templates. Any templates that need to be updated, we also need to look out for those here and update them as we go along. So this is a really loaded process. Remember, we're not going into the deep dregs yet. I know it might seem like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. And it is a lot of stuff. But as you begin to go deeper into the course or into the information before you take the PMP exam, please take note of these things, especially before you exam. Hone in on what deliverables are. So I'm pointing to them right now on the screen. Deliverables. Where do deliverables go? After we get a deliverable, what happens to it? It becomes an input to something else. One place that deliverables go is the control quality process. But you really need to go through the other areas where we find deliverables. We find them in a couple of other areas as inputs. Work performance data. I went into a little bit of detail on this. So WPD, work performance data. Remember, it comes from here. Where does it go? It goes to lots of the processes in the monitoring and controlling process group. What happens after that? It becomes work performance information, so on. Okay? And then the issue log. This is another important one. Understand what is in the issue log and understand where it goes as an input, definitely before you exam. Okay? Everything else on the screen is important. Knowing this is going to add to your chances of success on the test, but this is just to align you with what exactly is in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition and what you may need to spend more time on. Okay, so that's it for that process. Let's move on to the next.